It's already technologically fucked. Hello and welcome to the third installment of Arsenal Soup on Lee Judge's TV. Coming to you live from the hallowed grounds of Highbury's North Bank, which is good news for me, bad news for my internet connection. So please bear with us tonight. There might be a little bit of a delay, but without any further delay, Tannor, how you been, my friend? So far away from you.
Yeah, right. I don't know what to do. You're not within a 5-hour drive of me now. You're within like a 6.5-hour flight across 5 time zones.
Yeah, not that you ever made the 5-hour drive to see me, but
yeah, right.
That goes without saying. So it's an interactive Arsenal Soup tonight. It's a special episode. We'll get to how and why in just a bit, but you in the chat will be part of this show. An important part of this show. So without any further ado, though, the segment that everyone waits for, and we're going to get it right out of the way quick before we bring on our special guest, is going to be this one, the second installment of...
Are you ready? It's the Arsenal Soup. Soup of the week.
Nothing but the most professional.
Oh my God,
will do.
Oh, it's tremendous. Soup of the week
this week
is. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because this is going to keep happening. I'm on about a 4-second delay. So let's go with the soup of the week, Tannor.
Okay, soup of the week is chicken noodle. Campbell's chunky chicken noodle, and not Super Kevin Campbell's chunky chicken noodle. But it is delicious. Mine is better. I make my own chicken noodle soup. It's much better than this, but I was in a bit of a time crunch today. So this is what I went with. Pretty good. Pretty tasty. And when you're a hungry fat guy like me, beggars can't be choosers.
No, and I know that you've been under the weather lately, and so yeah, the chicken noodle soup surely got you taken care of here. Again, I apologize for the audio delay. There's about nothing I can do about it. But without further ado, our first guest tonight is a friend who I finally met in person last week after 2 failed attempts, 3 restraining orders. It's Elliot, who, along with Clive Palmer, Tim Stillman, Scott Willis, and Paul Paz, who I don't know his last name, make up the Arsenal Vision podcast. Welcome, Elliot.
Yeah, hey, good to see you. Well, not as good to see you as in person, which I was doing until recently, but good to see you digitally nonetheless. And I will now wait for your reaction as the 4-minute delay engages. Yes.
Here we go.
Oh, it's bad. But I said Arsenal Vision. I said Arsenal Vision podcast. I should have said the award-winning Arsenal Vision podcast, because, as of now, you can now claim the Football Content Awards gold winner for Best Podcast Premier League, not Best Arsenal Podcast, Best Podcast.
Yeah, crazy stuff. I mean, obviously, I had nothing to do with it, but I introduced the guys who make the podcast special, so I get to pretend like it was all my value. But yeah, I think that was a fun night. Look, like, setting the award aside, that was my first time meeting Clive, my first time meeting you. Actually, I'd met you the night before, but it was just a really special night. I think the thing that's really cool, right, is there were some bigger podcasts nominated, and there's a judges component to it, but I think the fan component is primarily what does it. And to win that, when you're up against some bigger podcasts, like, I think it just shows what a really special and energetic community we've created around our show, and that's just a testament to the people who listen to it. So it was really exciting. I mean, you were there. The drinks were flowing. It was just a super fun night.
And thank you for the champagne, by the way, because there were drinks flowing, yet many of them were from the generosity of the winners, and I held back on the champagne a little bit until there was something to celebrate for both of us. But So you mentioned, getting to see everyone in person and interacting. I mean, that the event was fantastic, but then a couple days later, you're in town for your own event, the Arsenal Vision live podcast from the Victoria Tavern. And, I worked the event in food service. It was the only way I could afford the ticket. But tell us how that went. I mean, from my perspective, it couldn't have been smoother. You had a lot of people who were just really, really into the content and the conversation that was being put out by you and your great panel.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous for that one, Mike, because I was trying to organize it from across the Atlantic Ocean, and the Victoria Tavern and Alex, who was running the place, were really kind enough to let us be there, open their doors for the event. They were gracious hosts, and I think we made it worth their while with the amount of drinks that were consumed. Good to see you, Mike. Have a great rest of your night.
Yeah. Little Irish goodbye.
And then Gabriel and Harry, who did the audio engineering, and video engineering, did an amazing job. So all we had to do really was show up, sit in a bar stool and talk into a microphone. But I think it was really neat because one of the things that happens, and this just from what we're doing right now, a podcast is a really fun conversation to have, but unless you're very lucky, you're not in the room with the people you're recording it with, and you're obviously not in the room with the people that are listening. And so it can be very isolating. I've spent the last 2 years stuck in my house like so many people, isolated from the Arsenal community, isolated from my friends and family, and to go and be in a room full of people who enjoy listening to the podcast and seeing their faces reacting to my jokes as they fall flat and no one laughs, and seeing their faces as they just ooze interest in the words of Tim and Clive and James McNicholas and James Benge, who were there as well. Yeah, it was a really, really fun night. But the best part, obviously, is after we turned off the microphones and just started buying everyone drinks and meeting people and hugging and high-fiving. And I haven't been in a situation like that in such a long time. But what Alex said from the Victoria Tavern, which is cool, is he's like, there were so many people here having so many drinks for so many hours and not an argument the whole time, right? No one getting into fights, no aggro, as they might say. It was just a really fun, relaxing time with people that I now consider friends. And you were there, Mike, and you saw it was just like a really good, upbeat environment. Now, that may have had something to do with the fact that we didn't play until the next day, but it all worked out nonetheless.
Yeah, there was a little bit of anxiety. I took your word for it that we were going to win, 10-0. I just, and that was disappointing. But with regards to disappointment, you then get to see your first game at the Emirates, the first time you've been back in London for 20 years. Much anticipated. Again, my favorite part of going to a game is the part before the game. The hours and hours at the Tollington or wherever you end up going. And once again, that was the same on Monday. But what was your experience at the Emirates? First time there? Did you take videos of yourself crying as you walked in? I mean, how did that whole experience go?
Well, we had quite a few drinks at the Tollington, as you know, sang some fun songs, had a nice march over from there. It felt like a sort of really authentic experience until I got to the Emirates and had no idea where I was going. Thankfully, I was with Tim Stillman, who knows the place forwards and backwards, walked me around to the entrance to my seat. The only downside, obviously, is that we couldn't all sort of sit together. You take whatever ticket you can get at that point. But there is something special, right? It actually took me back to when you're a very, very little kid, and whatever sport it is, whether it's football or baseball or rugby or the NFL, the first time you're in a big stadium and you walk through those doors where you can see the pitch and you can see the stands, like it really is. There's something that captures the imagination about it and is really overwhelming. And so I just tried to soak it up as much as I could. It was obviously the performance wasn't great. And I thought, here it is. Here's my moment to really be the good luck charm, because we get out to the great start 1-0. And I'm thinking I'll be invited back for every game from here. Didn't go the way we hoped. But the one thing that I will say that's really cool, if you're watching at home on TV at 7 a.m. and it's a flat performance and there's a late equalizer to salvage a point in a bad game against a lower mid-table team, it doesn't really lift you. But when you're at the ground and there's that last minute equalizer, the ball gets sucked in by the fans' roar and everybody leaves sort of cheering and high-fiving. I mean, obviously after a few hours that fades and you get back to realizing there's pretty dire performance, but I got to feel the exhilaration of a late equalizer, even in a game that was super disappointing. So that was a memorable experience. I did make the mistake of going to the toilets at halftime, which sounds like an innocuous enough move, but apparently my name was read out over the tannoy as part of my experience coming to the Emirates for the first time. And like, man, that would have been cool to hear. But I think it's a better memory to be able to say, like a true fan, I was queuing for the toilets while they were doing that. So yeah, missed that, unfortunately.
So I'm going to jump in before Mike gets a chance because that's really funny. And so which was worse, Elliot, missing, not hearing your name read out while you're actually at your seat, or being in the toilet when your name does get read out, and then all of these people mob you while you're standing there and you don't even get a chance to wash your hands before they want to hug you and high five you?
Yeah,
I'm kidding, but
you're already being mobbed in the toilets, let's face it, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, not a place for stage fright, let's put it that way. But like yeah, I think as far as memory goes, that one's up there. And then look, this is the other difference, right? Normally for me, a game ends at 10 a.m. and it's take care of the kids, do some chores, walk the dog, and you're just hoping to have the joy of a result. But even though the performance wasn't there and the result wasn't what we wanted, when you're marching back to the Tollington with friends to just drink till the wee hours of the night, I actually got back to my hotel room that night at nearly 3:45 a.m. Like, that's fun. That's really fun. And it makes me jealous and envious. I mean, look, there's no such thing as a better fan or a worse fan, but the people that get to do that regularly, the people that for them, that's their regular Arsenal experience, I hope they know. And again, they pay through the nose to experience it, so I don't diminish that. But I hope they know how special it is, because I would give a lot for that to be my every week match going experience. But it was definitely one that I'll remember for a lifetime. Loved it, absolutely loved it.
Tremendous stuff.
Yeah, it was a great time. I'm looking forward to hopefully a night like that again tomorrow night, but with a slightly different outcome. But as long as you know the right people and are willing to, get out there and meet the right people and go, not the right people, but just people in general. Because I certainly met a lot of the wrong people, but the before and after is just, it's phenomenal. And the before keeps the nerves away and just makes it fun. The after sometimes can take the disappointment and the sharp edge off, and just say, you know what, we go again in 4 days. So, it's a great experience. We're gonna start up something that I've done before on the Gooners podcast, but we're making the Lead Judges TV debut of this, and it's an interactive game. So if you're in the chat, you get to take part in this. If you're not in the chat, you're not going to hear me right now. So what's the use? We're going to bring in another panel member to help us with these, because it's got to be kind of a competition here. So welcome to Lead Judges TV in Arsenal suit, Mike Scunny. Mike from Scunthorpe. Good to see you. When are we going to see you in person? Are you coming down?
Thank you for inviting me, champions. No, I'm not going to be able to make it tomorrow. The next game I'm going to be able to get to is...
Well, I'm here for another month.
Yeah, the next game I'm going to is Leicester.
Oh, all right. Well,
so I don't know if you're going there at the away game.
Is the next game you're going to Leicester?
Yeah. That's the next.
Right.
That's the game I can get to.
Again, apologize for the...
Mate,
is that the game that you can get to? All right, I'm done.
In all fairness, Mike, I don't know what you're really taking the mick out of anyone, because you look like a poor ventriloquist doll.
Yeah.
The delay in Mike's audio is
the
roughly the same as the pace with which the ball moves from one Arsenal player to the next. Like there's just that long wait for something to happen in anticipation, and then disappointment.
Like I said, you look like a ventriloquist doll that Jeff Dunham forgot to make.
This is literally hours of disappointment, Elliot, followed by moments of brilliance. So
it's about right.
Exactly. All right.
Especially with this delay.
Listen, I'm going to describe how this. You guys get to know each other. I'm going to leave and come back, because that does seem to help. So, Tannor, can you explain the FA Cup game?
Yes, I can. Albeit I've never played the game before, but it's very simple. We put phrases in a bracket style challenge. One phrase or saying or word will go against another, and we basically vote on which phrase we like. We'll explain why we chose that phrase or that word, For me, it might be because I have no idea what the other phrase or word even means in context. Other words are just fun to say. Diabolical is just a fun word to say. So I'll tell you right now, if I'm filling out my bracket like a March Madness style thing, Diabolical is winning the national championship. The FA Cup.
Well,
for me, Freudian slip there, wearing
you
my
will have
Carolina
your opportunity.
hat. Oh, I know.
You will have
I
your
know.
opportunity to do that. So again, I don't
spoiler.
so here's. So we're going to go round by round. We're going to go matchup by matchup. We have 64 phrases. We're not doing the entire FA Cup today. We're just doing the first round, and we may not even get all the way through that. We have a hard stop at 8:00. So when we do this, I'm going to shut up as soon as I announce it, and then we'll go around. Tannor first, Elliot, and then Mike. If we do not have, and in the chat, if you're in the chat, you don't have to give a reason why. You certainly can if you want. Give your vote. The 4 votes will be tabulated, and if there's a draw, not a tie, but a draw, I will pick the winner after about 10 minutes of delay. So with this said, any questions from the panel other than, do you now understand, Mike, why I don't do the Arsenal Vision podcast live on air very often? Any other questions?
I'm lost.
Oh boy.
Just go. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
You'll be all right.
I don't even think I've seen
the very first match.
I'll figure it out.
Well, no one has because I did it on the other podcast that nobody watches. Yeah. So, all right. The first matchup is Covered in Glory versus Form Goes Out the Window. You must pick a winner. You feel free to give a reason. Tannor.
Covered in Glory, Form goes out the window. Well, let's face it. In this matchup, Form is going to go out the window. They're the lower seed. It's just a negative vibe on Form overall. Covered in Glory is going to go forward here.
All right, Elliot.
No, I got to disagree. Covered in Glory sounds like vaguely dirty. I think covered in anything, just generally, you have to ask, do you want to be covered in it? And like, what would glory be? How would it cover you? Is it like the spilled beers of celebrating fans? In the COVID era, do we want to be covered in anything really? So I would say covered in glory just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know what glory is or how it covers me or if I want to be covered in it. So no, I will pass on being covered in anything unless I first get to vet what that thing is I'm being covered in.
You did what to Eileen?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've gone.
All right, 1-1. Scunny.
That was brilliant, Elliot. I've gone.
Just don't want to be covered in it. You can be covered in it.
Right.
I guess I'm going to be covered in it. So let's go.
Maybe I've been too online during the pandemic. I don't know.
Scotty, you got to break the
All right,
tie.
Mike, get yourself together. We need your vote.
Form Goes Out the Window gets my vote.
All right.
I'm sorry. I can't do Covered in Glory after hearing that.
No, nobody's where I am. I'm in my own space, I guess.
Upset at the top of the bracket.
Oh. Composure.
Here we go. All right. So this is how it works. I can't promise the rest of them are going to be that deliciously sexy, but all right. Caught in two minds and asking questions.
It's back to me, yeah. Boy, oh boy. Caught in two minds asking questions is just boring. I'm going to continue to go, I think, with the higher seeded phrase or saying here. Basically because it just usually works out on the betting line for me. So, but we're going to go with caught in two minds here.
All right, Elliot. I'm gonna hope that you guys could just go in threes because the more I interrupt, the longer it's going to take. Because
I will say that the suspense of waiting to see if you enjoyed the contribution from the last speaker is worth the price of admission. Am I going to get a laugh from Mike, a scowl? Is he going to agree or disagree? There's time for that suspense to set in. You know, it's like right before Thomas Partey takes a shot. Row Z, row C, corner flag, where's it going? You have that moment to think about it. And you don't really know. I'm going to stick with caught in two minds. As you know, I don't like asking questions. My approach to asking questions is 2.5 minutes of opinion with a question mark at the end. Don't ask a question. Just give your opinion and then let the other person try to figure out what the question was. So I will say caught in two minds goes through.
I'll go before.
All right, and Scunny.
Nope, there it is. You see, you tried to do it, Scunny, and he stepped right on it.
I was waiting for that, you know, them poor Bruce Lee movies that you used to see in the 70s. That's what it seems to be like, doesn't it? With
That's exactly what I said earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go asking questions just because if you don't ask questions, you're always caught in two minds. So asking questions for me all the way on this one.
Okay.
So we got a 2-1 win. See, now I'm going to try to jump on the end of your statement so that maybe it begins less than 4 seconds after your statement. So yes, caught in two minds has won and advances to the second round. The next one is one, you know, the person I hear use this the most is the namesake of this channel, Lee Judges, who just loves talking about how he has the ump. So we're going with the ump versus on a knife's edge. Tannor.
So considering the precedent that Elliot has already set here with the tournament, the hump, I mean, yeah, it's funny if, you know, you're 15, it's great, it's whatever, but let's face it, we're all adults here, or at least we pretend to be. But knife's edge for me is going to pull the upset here because you are on the knife's edge, and I just don't want to be. I don't want to giggle like a 13-year-old every time I say the hump.
All right.
And I, honest to God, cannot wait to hear how Elliot goes with this.
Yeah, boy, here's the problem. When I was a young man, obviously the hump would have been a reference to sexual activity, and I would have loved it. Now I'm an old man, and the hump is a reference to what's happening to my back and my posture. So, you know, it's much less enjoyable now as I reference what it means to me at this stage of my life. Whereas knife's edge, I think, describes the state of the football club and the manager right now. The football is on a knife's edge, right? Not really blowing anybody away, not really getting blown away ourselves. Spurs accepted, but as we know, Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. And I would say that the manager himself is on a bit of a knife's edge. So a knife's edge feels like it is the phrase of the moment, whereas the hump has gone from being something I may have enjoyed in my younger days to being something I'm enjoying less in my more senior moments.
All righty, Mikey, that works. What do you think? Are you giving the hump a shot at this, or is the hump going to be done?
I was actually thinking about this, and yeah, I'm going to have to give the ump the shot because obviously with me being the only British person in this room, I believe, what recommends what is notably known as the hump would mean you're in a mood, or you're in that sort of that in between angry and yeah, it's all right. Just you've got the ump. So, and that seems to be the sort of where we go at the minute with Arsenal. At the minute, you know, you're either happy, you're either angry, or you've got the ump with them. So it's got to be the ump.
Yeah, and see that's it has to be said by somebody with that particular, you know, verbalization of it. And saying the hump just doesn't quite do it. So. Now listen, the chat, I know you're in there. Peter's in there. Yo-Yo, Reedy, Don, Cam, we want to hear your votes because the goal here, and we didn't really have much of it in the first two, is for you to be the fourth vote. So since the chat vote was for the hump, and because Mike's vote was for the hump, I'm now in a position where I have to break the tie, and I'm sorry, I have to go with the ump. Not the baseball ump, but the ump. So I'm going to break my first tie here, and the ump gets to the next round. So fourth, our fourth one here is second bite at the cherry and in the ascendancy. Now, in the ascendancy, I mean, you never ever hear that unless you're watching football. You've never watched an American sport and find someone in the ascendancy. You've never said, "Hey, that Mike, he's in the ascendancy." So what are we thinking here, Tannor, between second bite at the cherry and in the ascendancy?
This is a good one. This is like an 8-9 matchup. It could really go either way when you look at these two phrases. I'm Elliot. You really have taken my mind from football to very potty mouth, 13-year-old boy. Just
Yep, that's where it belongs.
Can't stop thinking about one
It's the
thing.
only way.
And both of these things, when you think about it, you get a second bite at the cherry, and if you get that proverbial second bite at the cherry, that's a good thing because it means the first bite wasn't so bad that you didn't want to go back for a second. But let's face it, in the ascendancy means that something good is about to happen. And for us men on the show, being in the ascendancy could be a very good thing for us. So I'm going to go with in the ascendancy to take this one.
Elliot.
Well, there's a couple of things about the cherry I think we need to discuss. First of all, if we're just talking about the fruit, what kind of weirdo needs 2 bites to eat a cherry? Like, I think by definition, if you have to take a second bite of the cherry, like, you're super weird, or you're eating a cherry that obviously you had a great deal of concern about. And at the point that you had such a concern that you had to take like a little test bite of the cherry, I wouldn't go back for a second bite of the cherry. If we're talking about the other thing, which is obviously a little more anatomical, I think it's fair to say, and I say this with great love and affection for all human beings, that's not a thing you're supposed to be biting, period. So not a first bite nor a second bite. Just wouldn't be right, and you shouldn't do it. So in either case, I think there are questions have to be asked. I'm just asking questions about the second bite of the cherry. In the ascendancy, it's got to, why wouldn't you want to be in the ascendancy? I mean, you got to go with a phrase that reflects exactly where you want to be in life, in sport, certainly in football, where we need to be more. It's in the ascendancy. There's just absolutely no way second bite of the cherry can go through here. I'm sorry.
Scunny.
All right, and Mikey.
Yeah, I've got to agree with this just because, the whole persona around second bite of the cherry, it means you got it wrong the first time. If you're going in for a second, you've got it wrong the first time. And it is going out to that 13-year-old kid like everyone seems to be doing at the minute, where everyone's going with it. And like I said, if you're going for the second bite of the cherry, you didn't do it right the first time. And with the ascendancy, you're obviously on the way up in literal and figurative terms. So it must be good if you go on the ascendancy. So in the ascendancy goes for it for me. Anything's good when you're going up. Just makes more sense.
All right, so I think we have the chat pretty much voting for second bite at the cherry on this one. So remind me again, because I'm dealing with some backstage technical issues here. Remind me what the 3 votes were from the 3 of you, because the chat vote is definitely the second bite.
I think we're all ascendancy.
Yeah, we're all in the ascendancy.
We're in the ascendancy, as is the phrase.
Going up goes all the way, doesn't it? It makes more sense.
All right, then we in the ascendancy has gone through, and here's what we're going to do on this. I'm going to go to the next one. As soon as I introduce it, we're going to Tannor, and then Tanner's going to whip the 3 of you, including the chat, together to get the final score. I'll put it up and then move on to the next question, because and the benefit of that is not only a faster podcast, but one where you don't have to hear from me that often. So gives me more time to drink. And we'll all be happy. So, all right. So the next one on the list is Rich. Oh, here we go. Rich vein of form. I can only imagine what Elliot's going to do with this. And all over but the shouting. Tannor, let's get us started.
Oh my God, rich vein of form. I don't even. Oh Lord, I don't even know. You know what? What was the other one? It's all over but the shouting. The shouting really, I mean, at least to me anyway, should be done during, not when it's all said and done. So that's just me. But so based on that, I'm going with rich vein of form. And Elliot, I'm going to pass it right on to you because, boy, I just can't wait.
I have to say, it's sort of disturbing to me that you've gone sexual here, but I would say, I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't ring a bell, but maybe. Yeah, I've just been asking questions. That's all I got to say. Form goes out the window when you're talking about this sort of thing. This is a tough one for me, but I do think that rich vein of form is such an interesting phrase with so many possible connotations, all of which I think are positive. I think I will go with rich vein of form. And it makes me think of gold mining, which is what I'm assuming it's related to when you'd find a rich vein of gold when you're panhandling. And there's been some good TV shows related to that I may have binged quite recently during this pandemic that we've all been stuck in our homes. So yeah, I like rich vein of form. I like where it's going. And I'd like for us to be in a rich vein of form, maybe as soon as tomorrow. So give me rich vein of form any day.
Stunny.
Yeah, sorry. What was the other? Because I can't see on.
It's off the screen is the problem.
Yeah.
I think Mike is frozen. I don't know if he can scroll up for us there, but the other phrase was "It's all over but the shouting."
Well, I've experienced that quite a lot when it's all over and then the shouting starts. So, I think it's a case for me now. It's got to be the rich vein of form because it sounds more, similar to what Elliot was saying there. It just sounds more appealing. No one wants to be shouted at, especially after anyway.
Yeah, so it looks like rich vein of form, even according to the chat. It looks like rich vein of form is going through. So we would say that was a bit lopsided, and so that is. We're gonna have to rely on Mike here for a little bit because I can't see anything else.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so you can't see the screen then at all.
No, I mean we could see the screen. It stopped. The rich vein of form was the last one that I could see. I couldn't see anything else.
All right. Well, that is certainly a problem. All right, the next one, you're able to see that now. Handbags against beaten for pace. Handbags, of course, I think often used to describe a couple of Arsenal versus Manchester United matches. And here we go. Let's try to put this back up again and see if it works. Handbags and beaten for pace, and I'll try to get the screen back up. But Tanner, what do you think? And chat.
Yeah, I'm not. You know what? I'm going to throw it. I'm going to throw it to Elliot real quick. I'll go last on this one simply because I'm not sure I know what handbags means, and I want a little bit of context. So
so it can't be handbags. I'm glad we're actually talking about handbags because not to be that guy, but it is a really sexist phrase the way it is used in football. Like, let's just call it like it is, because handbags is used to refer to a sort of half-assed, silly fight between players that isn't really a fight, but they're sort of pushing. And I think it's meant to reflect women hitting each other with their handbags. And like, come on, like we got to be past that. Now, look, I get it by this point, to your point, like so few people probably understand the meaning of that, but I think that is the reference. It's kind of like meant to be women swinging handbags at each other. And it just feels a little misogynistic and outdated, not to be that guy. But so I'm going to go with whatever the other choice was, which
beaten for pace.
Beaten for pace, because first of all, I have experienced it quite a lot, beaten for pace. And also because I'd have to say that my favorite ever Arsenal player, he says, tongue firmly in cheek, Olivier Giroud, a player I did not love, let's face it, and a lot of people loved, and a lot of people hated me for not loving him. But the reason I didn't love him is because I felt too often he was beaten for pace. So I would say beaten for pace has a place in my heart. And I'm glad that we have a forward now who doesn't get beaten for pace very often. Not that he gets very few chances to show that. But yeah, definitely going to go against the use of handbags if we could get away from it, or at least that's just my perspective. And I'll go with beaten for pace there.
Yeah. Scotty.
Yeah, I think that whole thing with handbags and stuff like that it's a very tired old saying now, especially in anything. It's when I was a kid, it was like, "Ooh, get your handbag out," as it was as you was kids when people started spouting their mouths off and stuff. So it's a tired old saying. I think it needs to go now.
And see,
And beating for pace is the way it should go, isn't it? It should be beaten for pace.
Yeah, so now that I have the context for the phrase, I'll be honest. If you're gonna, I'll coin a hockey phrase here. If you're gonna drop the gloves, then drop the frickin' gloves and let's have ourselves a good old fight. Let's not go and slap each other like two drunk dudes arguing over the same girl who, let's face it, they couldn't afford anyway if they even had a chance. But beaten for pace will take this one down for me. And I'm looking over in the comments. It does look like beaten for pace is going to take it with the comments as well. So now is when I need a piano and I need to vamp, right? Because we don't have our fearless host here. And we're out of sayings. I don't even have the sayings here to be able to continue this thing. So Elliot, I'm going to throw it back to you. I guess we'll circle back to I'll circle back to your and he's back. Just when I thought I had a great way to vamp.
Here he is.
There he
is.
This is killing me. I am sorry for this.
I've enjoyed it. I'm
sure you have. I'm sure you have. This is.
I'm gonna level with you, Mike. I'm gonna level with you, Mike. You're not gonna be covered in glory after this one. That's it.
I think a lot of
I'm going to be covered in something.
Not glory.
I think the chat's going to be left asking questions.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
All right. So I the last thing I heard was the probably appropriate takedown of handbags as a football term. Did we go around the did we go around the horn and get answers to everything? And
we did.
And where are we on handbags?
Handbags was blown out. Handbags was in fact beaten for pace by beaten for pace from the Department of Redundancy Department. But the chat, the three of us all agreed that handbags is the very antiquated saying now, and yeah, so beaten for pace took it down.
Well, good. The reason I put that in there was because I wanted to out, any kind of misogynistic type of phrases that might be used in football, and I think we have now, as a team, come together to do that. Are you able to see the brackets now?
I have nothing. Elliot, can you?
I mean, I see blackness, just the blackness of the void staring back at us. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well then we're not going to be able to see the brackets for whatever reason. I thought everyone could see them. So the next one is cynical versus schoolboy error. So it's cynical versus schoolboy error, and I'm certainly not someone you would confuse for a schoolboy, but I'm making a lot of errors tonight. So that's making me cynical. Tannor.
You know what, Scotty? Why don't you take this one first? I don't think I need to go first every time.
Yeah, I'm not. The schoolboy era, it's quite a well used one, and I actually quite like that saying as well. Over the cynical, anyway. I feel like the schoolboy era is more of a. It just seems to be more of one of the ones that I can think to myself you can relate to a lot more. This guy's made a right schoolboy error. For me, it has to be that one over the cynical. I think cynical it's not. It don't feel like it's the right word to use in sort of football in my way. So yeah, the schoolboy era definitely.
I'm with Scunny on this one. It's schoolboy error is very obvious as to what that means. Cynical is obvious too, but let's face it, schoolboy error is just more fun. And quite frankly, when Mike first said schoolboy error, the first thing that popped into my head was a song by Average White Band called Schoolboy Crush, and that put a smile on my face. So I'm going with schoolboy error as well.
Got to be schoolboy error for me for all the reasons stated and more. I mean, let's face it, we've all made plenty of them. And given the average age of the player at Arsenal right now, I think we're going to see quite a few more of them, unfortunately, as we go through growing pains. So schoolboy error is the saying of the day for me.
Yeah, Mike, are you with us now? We see
right.
you are with us. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm hoping that the lack of video and my little pet gerbil will help with my bandwidth here. So Schoolboy Error has gone into the next round. The next matchup: Top Bins versus Against the Run of Play.
This is a tough matchup.
This is yeah. Anyone want to take this one first, Scunny or Elliot?
Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I like them both. I really do. I think, unfortunately, we suffered our second goal that we conceded against Palace against the run of play. So I feel bitter about that right now. Top bins, that's where you want to put it. That's what we're looking for. Let's hit the top bins. I think, not enough of that happening right now, but there's just something about top bins. I love it. There's an English football celebratory feeling that I get from top bins that I just want replicated. So I wish more things in life could go top bins, and I that for me has to win this one.
Yeah, I'm going to second that for all the reasons you just said, and unfortunately, like you just said, Elliot, anytime I hear the phrase "against the run of play," I'm hearing it during an Arsenal match, and it's going against us. So I'm with you there. It's everything you just said about top bins is spot on. That's I'm going with top bins here. That's exactly where we want to be.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in the same boat with that. It's another similar to the Schoolboy era. It's one of them age-old ones that you used to say growing up as a kid watching football and stuff. Oh, he's just bagged it in the top bin. It's so just one of them ones that you used to say. So it's it's got to be that one for me. I think Against the Run of Play is just whatever. It's a boring scene, isn't it? Oh, he's got him against the run of play. Yeah, nice one. But when you hear, oh, it's gone in the top bin.
Well,
it's a
top bins is one of those that it makes me even more annoyed at the American bastardization of these phrases, because Tannor, Elliot, upper 90, that's just not good enough. What does upper 90 mean? Top bins, you kind of understand what that means. Upper 90? That's embarrassing.
No, you're obviously not a fan of the right triangle. I mean, that's what the upper 90 is. It's the 90-degree angle, man. It's in the angle. That's the same thing. Top bins. It's all good.
No,
I could really bastardize or Americanize it. Okay, and these Irish goodbyes, man. My God.
Unreal.
Elliot, are you a hockey fan?
Candidly, I am not a hockey fan, though I live in a place surrounded by hockey fans and players alike. So I probably should be.
No, it's top shelf is a hockey phrase that mirrors top bins, or we tend to get a little more creative. Us fat Americans prefer up where Mama keeps the cookies. So that is
a phrase I like, and I do like going to where Mama keeps the cookies.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, so it looks like Top Bins is going to take this one down as well. It should. Against the run of play is just never. It just never seems to work out that well for Arsenal, right? And
no.
Let's face it, we want to be, like Elliot said, we want to be top bins. We want to be putting the ball in the top bin or the upper 90, up where Mama keeps the cookies, all that good stuff. And we'll wait for Mike to get back in.
Well, it is one of them ones where you say, it depends, I suppose, where you are in the country. In the UK, you got a lot of people, so you either say top bin, top bag. I've never heard the upper 90 or where Mama keeps the cookies. I've never heard them before. That is really new to me, that one.
The cookies one's more of a hockey saying.
Yeah.
Over here when somebody scores and it's up high, it's it's up where Mama keeps the cookies. But
like I say, it's quite in retrospect, it is quite one of them ones where it's really simple. It's like top bin, top bag, roof of the net.
Yep.
He smashed it into the corner. It's just one of them sort of ones. It's really it is really simple, but it's I suppose putting these little, like you say, these bastardizations of it, and sometimes putting a little fun, a little spin on it. Sometimes it works. I don't think the cookies one would work over here, though.
Yeah.
Well, they're not even called cookies, right? That's part of the problem.
True.
Yeah.
What are they? Biscuits?
Biscuits.
Yeah, they're
Biscuits. It's biscuits.
So now we're talking about
Postage
the,
stamp is a good one, by the way.
Postage stamp is a very good
Mhm.
one. Yeah, that's a very good one.
That could mean completely something different over here. So, but I'm not going to go into that because it would go to what we were saying earlier about being rude.
We've successfully
We'll stick with
navigated
the biscuits.
away from that conversation.
We'll stick with biscuits.
Mike, are you
here's
with
what we're
us?
gonna do.
He is.
Yeah, and I'm done with this back and forth stuff. Highbury is not a place to do a podcast from reliably. I'm just going to come out and say that. Let's switch off of this game because I'm neither able to share my screen where you can see the brackets. I'm neither here or there. So we will pick up on this when I have a more reliable connection and finish off the first round and possibly the rest of the FA Cup. So thank you for your help with that. With the time we have remaining, kind of a big game tomorrow. So let's just kind of go around the horn and talk about expectations. Villa's run, not in the richest vein of form either, I will say, but one of these two teams at the end of the day in the Emi Martinez derby will be covered in something, and it might not be pleasant. So, Elliot, you're well thought out and probably rehearsed plans and expectations, thoughts, expectations, and dreams for tomorrow.
Well, my dreams are 10-0, right? I mean, that goes without saying. My thoughts are that Villa press. We don't like to get pressed. That's usually a pretty bad sign. I thought it was interesting listening to some of Mikel Arteta's comments today about how that he liked the way we played when we were trying to take the lead early against Palace, and that we were too passive and too willing to let them have the ball after. But it just feels like we do that a lot. And I can't believe that that's just the players making that decision. I'm starting to get to the point now where I'm not really sure what our football is meant to do. I think we're pretty organized. I don't think we give away a lot of clear chances. Ironically, we did give away a couple of decent chances against Palace, but in general, that's not who we are. I think Arsenal are set up for a lot of 0-0s, and I could see a 0-0 tomorrow. It is the case right now that we just have to shade every game. Like, could we win it 1-0? Could they win it 1-0? You feel like that, yes, but in your heart of hearts, do you see Arsenal going out and having the ball in the attacking third, keeping it there, pushing Villa back, having them on the back foot? Not really, right? You see Arsenal being in a situation where we're trying to build from the back out, lots of passes from deep, wide triangles, vacating central spaces. So the other question then becomes, is he going to try to make a change? I mean, there are two players that came on that I thought were more direct and helped with our play in the attacking third in Martinelli and Lacazette. Do we need the focal point? Do we need the players who want to get into the box or get the ball into the box with more intention and urgency? I think it's really, really worrying the way our central midfield was just taken completely out of the game against Palace. So the last two games, Brighton and Palace, I think have been punctuated basically by passivity. And given that Villa do like to press, and we have not responded to that well in any situation this season, it wouldn't surprise me again if it was a little bit of a sloppy game, a game where we don't have a lot of the ball. And maybe it just comes down to, can we create that one opening and put it away and win 1-0? And look, to be clear, I'd love to come here and say I think we'll play great and dominate and win comfortably. But right now, from an attacking standpoint, I don't see the evidence to support it. So I would definitely take a 1-0. But more than anything, I'd just love to see us start to find ways to just create some territorial dominance, create more openings, because what we're doing right now, just aesthetically, is not getting it done.
Yeah. Scunny, talk to us.
No, I completely agree. I can't. The simple thing for me is obviously watching us against Crystal Palace. It was a terrible game, and it was such one of them boring games. And it's like, watching us against Brighton. I often said, and I did say about Brighton when we played them, is that it was a well fought, hard game, and we did do the right things in that game, other than probably put the ball in the back of the net. But I didn't even see that against Crystal Palace. We didn't fight. We didn't really go to it. We were good for the first 15 minutes, and it was a case of after that it all fell apart. After the first goal went in, it just all fell apart. It just seems to be oh well, let's sit back and defend. Is that a tactics thing? Is that what Elliot was saying as well? What Arteta said. Is that a player thing? You can't expect the players to decide something like that. I wouldn't have thought you would have done, not especially in the middle of a game as well. So yeah, I want to see. I'd like to see more pressing. I'd like to see more movement. The biggest thing that we've had this season so far, and as well as last season, is moving the ball forward to the forwards, and we just not seem to be doing that right. And we haven't done that for a long time. And with the midfield being the way it is, I don't want to see Ødegaard back in that midfield where next to Partey. I just don't think that team them two do not suit being next to each other. And we could see that against Palace, and I think we've seen it once before as well, but I can't think for the life of me who it was. He needs to make a choice. Is it going to be Smith Rowe or is it going to be Ødegaard in that number 10 position?
Burnley?
Or even Saka. I just don't, he needs to make these decisions and he needs to start doing it properly. And this is what I want to start seeing now, and we need to start getting some more results. It's coming up to that period where it all seems to be for Arsenal is that Christmas period. We always seem to falter quite a lot. There's never really a great Christmas period where we think to ourselves, oh, we're grinding out the results, or we're nicking a couple of wins here and there, we're getting a few draws. We're not getting any of that, and we haven't had that for a while. So it would be nice to see that, and it should have started against Palace. It needs to start against Villa, because we've only got big games coming up. After Villa we've got Leicester away, and without looking at the fixtures, I can't think who's next after that. So we have got big games coming up, and we need the points. So yeah, I completely agree with that.
It's Watford after that.
Yeah,
Watford.
It's Watford after that, which I know
Watford
because I will actually still be here for that game.
I don't know if
Liverpool or Manchester.
I don't know if
I'm not sure, but we have a.
Yes, sorry, you're right. Yes, it's Liverpool, and I think Man United is at the end of November.
Yeah, I'm probably going to butcher your first name, and I apologize. Chaitanya Call. Situation is so bad, I have zero confidence, and thank you very much for the kind donation. But yeah, I mean, from where I'm sitting, there's been absolutely nothing in this club to show me that to fill me with confidence to think that we can go and get a result tomorrow. Everything that Elliot said, I will echo that as well. We are obviously a much better team when we're playing with pace, when we're playing direct, and when we're playing facing goal. And unfortunately, too often in our build-up, it's slow, it's methodical, and every receiver of the ball receives the ball with their back to goal. And it just completely destroys, obliterates even whatever momentum going forward we've had. And it fills me with absolutely zero confidence that we'll do anything at all tomorrow. And I don't think Mikel Arteta knows how to change it, because everyone says they can't see what it is that Mikel Arteta wants to do. Well, what he wants to do is he wants to dominate possession and wear the other team down. But the problem is that one problem with dominating possession is you allow your opponent to set up in their defensive shape. And these teams are just setting up a row of four and a row of four. And we have no creativity to break it down. So we come up against a team like Villa that like to press, so we need to hit them with pace. We need to hit them with some long balls over the top, as much as I hate to say that, but hit them with some long balls over the top. I like Lacazette starting for us because I think he fits Mikel Arteta's system better with his hold-up play. He's not the direct player that Aubameyang is. He'll bring more players into the attack, but we just can't score that way. It doesn't matter who that player is. We just can't score that way because we take too long to make the key pass, or we don't make the key pass at all. So Aubameyang is going to start, and we need to somehow, being a team that wants to possess the football, completely change mentality to a team that is going to press and hit you on the counterattack, because that's where we're most dangerous. And the proof is in the pudding when you go back and you look at the way we played in the FA Cup run. When you look at the way that we played against Spurs a few weeks back. We were hitting on the counter. We were hitting with speed. We were direct. That's how we score goals. That we're just not going to break teams down once they've set up defensively. So I am not filled with a lot of confidence because I don't think that Mikel Arteta has a plan B. If we can do what we did against Tottenham a few weeks ago, it'll be sheer dumb luck that we happened into it. But as far as expectations for this go, when you have no expectations, you can't be disappointed. And I work tomorrow night, so I don't want to be disappointed.
I got two suggestions for I got two suggestions for how to handle this situation, because having been at the game on Monday, I did not find the game to be as plodding and slow and diabolical as everyone else. But the reason is because I was at the pub from 2:00 in the afternoon until 8:00 when it started. And I think that is pretty much the way you're going to have to consume this game tomorrow. Owen's coming in tomorrow morning. We're going to meet him. We'll be at the pub from midday. So look, if tomorrow is as boring and ridiculous as Monday was, and I'm on a pod the next day talking about how it was the most exciting game of my life, just let me have that. Because I can't take the way that this is going, but I also don't see how we win that game. But the worst thing is going to be the fans cheering Emi Martinez's name the way that they did Patrick Vieira's. I can't take that. I want to say thank you as we wrap this up. Thank you to Tannor for wearing a hat of a college basketball team whose most famous coach has the same name as the man who's coaching Aston Villa against us tomorrow. So well done on the karma meter there. Thank you to Mike Scuddy for joining us relatively last minute and for putting up with my internet. This is the second worst podcast he's ever done, and it's not his fault. He's ever been on. So thank you, Scuddy. Appreciate it. Elliot, congratulations again on your victorious triumph through London and through the football content awards.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
And for having one of the first podcasts you've done after that.
Thank God for that.
So, yeah. Well, anyway, one last thing. Please do visit GoonersVCancer.com, the award-winning GoonersVCancer.com. We have about 10 days left in the charity campaign for this year. There's tons of great prizes to win. We're still a bit short of our $25,000 goal. So please make sure you just visit. Anything will get you into the raffle. The more you give, the more you have a chance to win. But we just really appreciate the help raising money for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So with that said, you can follow Tannor at @TheBeardedGooner. Follow me at The Gooners Podcast. You can block Elliot at Yankee Gunner. You can also block Mike Scunny at Mike Scunny. And this has been the third and potentially the final episode of Arsenal Soup on Lee Judges TV. Thanks for joining us, and come on, you Gooners. I'm just going to drink heavily now.
I recommend it.
You can't even end the show, can you?
Yeah, right.